everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. You know who I am. I'm Karen Buechs, and I'm your host. And I just love the guest I have on tonight. He is a candidate for the Plymouth Planning Board. Please welcome Tim Bennett.
Hello.
Hello, Tim. I am so glad you came on to the show.
Thank you so much.
And I know we had to juggle our schedules to get you here, but that's okay. Election is May 18th, Saturday.
Yep.
And I fully support you.
Oh, thank you.
Because I know you're all about balance.
That's right.
But let's start this way, to introduce you to our Plymouth family. A little bit about your personal background.
Okay. So I was not actually born in Plymouth, moved here when I was 6 years old.
Oh.
Moved here when my father got a job as a teacher at Plymouth High School.
Oh, no. Well,
Yeah.
Oh.
So he taught, well, he didn't stay at Plymouth for very long. It was a couple of years, and then he went on to Silver Lake, which he spent his about 30 years teaching drafting and
Draft.
Similar subjects. My mother was a nurse, worked at then Jordan Hospital for 30 years, retired from there.
I still call it Jordan Hospital.
I do too.
Yeah.
And, it's hard for me, but so I basically grew up in Plymouth. I went to actually High Pines Kindergarten, if anybody out there remembers that, in Manomet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then Manomet Elementary for 1st through 3rd, Nathaniel Morton for 4th through 6th, 4, 5, and 6, and then PCIS 7, 8, and 9. At that point was when the Plymouth, I think it was Plymouth Carver High School at that time, went on double sessions.
That's right.
And my parents, God bless them, found a way to send me to Tabor Academy.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, it was a great school. I do fully believe, though, that you can get a great education wherever you go. It's up to the individual to
That's
perform.
a great thought, Tim. That's it.
It is. So I went on to college in New York, got a computer science minor, and on a summer break, I worked for a surveying company right here in town and fell in love with it. So basically, I've been doing that for almost 40 years, about 2 months shy of 40 years. I've been working. I've been a licensed registered land surveyor for 30 years, a little over that. So
you know Plymouth inside and out then.
I've moved away for a few times here and there, but I've moved back to Plymouth 15 years ago. I'm in Priscilla Beach. I love it there.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's a great neighborhood, but it's a great town overall. I mean, all the neighborhoods are great.
Yeah.
So that's...
And you're married?
I'm married. Been married for a little over about 15 years, or thereabouts.
Don't pin you down.
Make me. Yeah. No. I'm working engineering, but not that great at math on some things. So.
That's funny. You have children?
I do. I have two grown daughters, one 30, one 27. One lives here in town, and then I have 2 boys, 12 and 9.
Oh, excellent.
And yeah, they're terrific. Keep me young.
Excellent. So you have a really nice family. You work for a surveyor.
I work for a company called Grady Consulting in Kingston. They're civil engineers, land surveyors, and landscape architects.
Right.
So a really terrific, very professional company.
I am sure.
Lucky to be there.
But you do a lot of work, I'm sure, in Plymouth.
Not a tremendous amount.
Really?
Yeah. Our work generally focuses on sort of along the coast. The Duxbury, Marshfield, Scituate, Cohasset stretches is really kind of a sweet spot for the company as far as projects. We do mostly residential and some commercial site development, and that is generally kind of from Kingston north. We do work in Plymouth. Here and there, but it's not really where our main focus is.
That's like Randy Parker. Randy Parker does.
Yeah, Randy. It's the similar business as Randy. Randy's a land surveyor like myself. Probably has been licensed longer than I have. And we're friends. You know, it's kind of we call it co-opetition.
No. No, he's got a great business too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does good work, and I'm sure your company does. Grady. Grady
Yes, Grady
in
Consulting.
Kingston.
Yep.
And now you're running for the planning board, a position on the planning board, and I'm really happy about that because you have a lot of experience. And, oh, you also are the chair of the Rose Advisory?
That's correct, yeah.
Wow, how long have you been doing that?
So, chair for just the past year, but I've been on the committee for 10 years plus.
Oh, Tim Grandy's on that too.
Yes, he is. That's and he is partially responsible for piquing my interest in the planning board. Just seeing his depth and breadth of knowledge about things that are going on in Plymouth that affect all of us.
He's been on there many years and he loves it.
Yeah.
He loves the roads. That's all you hear, Roads Advisory from Tim, but he loves that committee. And tell people what you do on the Roads Advisory.
So we advise the town engineering staff to some degree as far as we have a system called a road surface rating that rates every single road in town. And it's a tremendous tool for the engineering department, the DPW, to determine what they need to do as far as maintenance and what types of maintenance, but as far all the way from what they call full depth reconstruction, which is what it sounds like, to crack sealing. And there are multiple steps in between, and different roads need different things, and they have software that does that. So we help them make those decisions. We also handle snowplow requests.
Guess what? We have a phone call.
Okay.
Hello, you're on Talk of the Town.
Good evening, Karen. Good evening, Tim. Tim, I met you once about a month ago, and I was impressed, that you were going to be running because we do need more than one candidate. And since you do surveying, you've done a lot of work on the coast and different projects, so you know a lot about economic development. Where do you stand on economic development in the town of Plymouth?
Good question.
Thank you. So economic development is crucial. I mean, that is how we should be growing. And I'm thinking towards commercial development. Our taxes are, our town's revenue is roughly 80% of the revenue comes from, and I know you know better than I.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of coming up to speed with some of these
It's
numbers.
about 70.
But I think it's 80% is from the real estate tax, and then about, I think it's 17% is all that is the commercial tax.
There isn't enough yet. Yeah.
So commercial development, and with balance, commercial development where it belongs, in the areas where we have zoning regulations, and I'm pretty familiar with them, having worked with them and had to guide clients through them. But I'm what I'd like to do, and I don't think I can do it all myself, obviously, but is reduce the tax burden on the residential, our friends and neighbors.
That's golden to my ears.
I mean, I got a big bite in the tax bill this year, and it hurt. It made it tough, especially with the cost of groceries now and things like that. To provide some relief for the residents by increasing the tax revenue from commercial development, I think is the right way to go. And I don't mean commercial development at all cost. I mean commercial development that's sensitive, that's smart growth, that respects the environment. It's where it belongs, where where our master plan has determined that it belongs. And the master plan was developed, the old master plan, there's one in the works right now, but the old master plan is sort of the first guideline, but it was, there's no real concrete plan there. There's a lot of wishful thinking. This is what we'd like. This would be wonderful. But there's nothing about how to make it happen, how to pay for it.
How to pay for it. Is the caller still on? Is the caller still there?
No.
No.
Well, I hope I answered your question.
Oh, I'm sure you did. I mean, I'm a great proponent for commercial development in the right place, but we need it to alleviate the taxes that are going to be coming in 2025, which it's going to be a lot. What you have now, I mean, people are upset about. I just can't imagine what they're going to do when they get their next tax bill.
Yeah.
So we do need commercial, we need economic development, we need planning.
Right. And planning is finding that balance between the needs of the. Oh, it looks like we have another caller.
We do. Thank you.
Disconnected. And yes, you did answer my question. I'm glad to hear that, you're doing smart growth and you are aware of the economic development, how important it is to this town. And not only for the tax rate, but also we need it to get people's jobs. So,
Agreed.
The old saying, live here, play here, work here, is really something that I've been here 40 years, and it's something I really haven't seen. Mm-hmm. Like I have taken a hit on my taxes this year, and I'm on a fixed income, and we need something to expand that economic base. And I hope that you would be involved with the master plan that's going on now. Mm-hmm. And
I intend to, yes.
And, maybe you could have some inputs with your experience in landscaping, and I'm sure you know all the regulations on, wetlands and stuff like that. That could be a great help to that committee, to the master plan committee.
And the ones I don't know, I know where to look them up.
I have a question for you. Wasn't it the RKG report that said that we should follow the master plan and the only way to bring money into this town was through commercial base?
It's the only way to bring money in this town. We're not going to get it from residential.
No.
That's, the RKG was great, but it was, when you don't have the zoning and you don't have the wherewithal to do it. And
the will.
Will. Well, the will's there, but unfortunately you have people who seem to fight any kind of economic development, and that's coming into the community, and commercial isn't a bad thing, and if it's done smartly, I think that if it's done smartly, everyone can be happy. It's like Red Brook. Red Brook had a problem, even though that was residential, it still works in the commercial. Red Brook, the residents had a problem. Red Brook got together and they changed the problem, the location, and majority of the residents now are happy. And I think that the same way it can be done with construction, is if you can get rid of a couple of people. And of course, I'm not going to say it's Frank Mann and Rich and Meg Sheehan. I wouldn't say that, but if I didn't say that, did I? But anyway, you have these obstructionists, and it's save a tree at all cost.
Well, it's
not
I
right.
very much agree with you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And Tim, good luck. You have my vote.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you very much. Bye
Thank you. That was very nice.
Yeah. So I'm very in favor of listening to both sides. It's not.
You have to.
I consider it. It's my duty as a citizen to do some public service. It kind of comes from what I'm trying to teach my kids in the Boy Scouts. There's community service is part to do anything they have to get community service. So I feel like I have a skill set that can benefit the town. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also part of my temperament is I listen to both sides of the story. I'm vehemently against the knee-jerk no, one-sided special interest viewpoint. I'm not doing my job if I just listen to my friends about what they want. I need to listen to both sides and come to a decision that's balanced and fair and what is best for the community. I was talking with one of the planning board members, and he said something very profound, I thought, is my client is the community of Plymouth.
That's right.
I thought that really sort of hit home.
Well, do you know, somebody told me years ago, who I respect to this very day, he said, the planning board is elected by the people because it should be the people's vision. And that's why the planning board is elected and not appointed. Mm-hmm. And I never forgot that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. Of course, in anything, if you're a fair-minded person and you want to do the best job you absolutely can, you have to listen to both sides and take your best shot after learning all the information.
That's right.
And I, from what I understand, that's what you do anyway.
That's, it can come back to my land surveying profession. Somebody hires me to stake out their property line, and it doesn't come out where they thought it was.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 50% of the time.
Really?
Because, well, people call a land surveyor because they're maybe having a boundary dispute or something
Yeah.
like that. And it doesn't matter who I'm working for. My duty is to the public. Actually, that's one of the
To get it right.
The first item on our code of ethics from our
Yeah.
professional associations. Is,
Yeah.
and it's part of the state granted me a license to decide, or not decide, but determine or find where these boundaries are. Really
What
deciding
did
is
you
a judge's
have to
job.
go through to get your license?
It was not a small thing.
No,
It's
it's
there are
complicated.
2 exams. There's a surveyor and training exam, which is an 8-hour exam.
Wow.
You can take that after you've got 3 years experience. And then the second exam is the principles and practices of land surveying, and that's the land surveyor's exam. That's another 8 hours. And it's divided up into, actually kind of interesting, it's divided into a national section and then a
Regional?
meets and bounds
Oh.
states. So the original 13 colonies
Oh,
versus the rectangular states, because they use a different system, townships and ranges. So then the second section of the exam is that, and then it's a Massachusetts-specific exam. And you're allowed to take that after you've had 6 years' experience of responsible charge, so in charge of other people.
holy mackerel.
So yeah, it was no small thing. It took some work, but
Yeah.
it was. Once I was bitten by the bug of the profession, I pretty much wrote what I needed to do on the bathroom mirror and ticked them off as they needed to be done.
Well, you know what? Whenever I see a surveyor out there, and you're out there, it doesn't matter what the weather. And I always feel bad if it's winter, and they're out there and freezing. And, I see them looking into and then there might be
Instrument.
2 of them.
Yep.
But sometimes there's only one, and he
That's
runs
correct.
back and forth and back. God bless him,
Well, that's part of another thing I love about it is the technology. There's actually, in the past 10 years, the survey instruments, we call it a total station. Why, I'm not sure, but because it does everything. But they've become robotic, so one person can walk around with the rod and it tracks them. It actually has target recognition and tracks the rod, and they have
like
a
the
computer on the rod,
military.
and they can tell it okay, I'm measuring the edge of pavement now.
It's like the military. Military
I'm
has
sure the
things.
technology came
Sure.
downstream from the military, but the ability to work with ancient deeds, that you can barely read, and sometimes I get to cut down trees, and other times I'm flying a
drone?
30-pound drone, or a laser scanner that collects millions of points per second. The technology in surveying's come leaps and bounds, but
And it's
that makes it fun.
changed.
It's such a variety.
I know. What did they do back in the centuries?
They did it a lot slower.
Yes.
Yeah, even when I first started my career, it was, I'm not hesitant to admit, it was pre-internet. And to
Yeah.
look up someone's deed, you had to go to the assessor's office to look up what book and page it was in. Then you had to go to the registry of deeds and find the book, usually down in the basement, find the page, find it, get the roll of quarters out of your pocket, make a photocopy of it. Now I do it from my desk in 45 seconds. It's pretty amazing.
Technology. I know my husband was an appraiser, and when he first started, the books were like this, and he'd be up all night going through the books, doing his appraisals. Then he had to teach himself a computer because everything went on the computer, and it was much faster, easier, technology.
Yep.
And that it saves the day. But you're also on the Manomet Steering Committee. How
That's correct.
lovely. I know Alice Baker.
Yeah,
she's
she's
a
wonderful.
wonderful gal.
Yeah.
Wonderful gal. What's your experience on that?
I was actually pleasantly surprised because it was not what I expected.
What'd you expect?
I expected it to be an advisory committee to the planning board, which it is,
It is.
but it's so much more than that. The members are very proactive about responding to residents' concerns.
Yeah,
We do a lot
absolutely.
of stuff with signage and parking
Yeah.
and things like that, and repairs. Some of it overlaps really with the Roads Advisory Committee
Yeah.
because people sometimes bring their concerns about roads to us. But if it's a road in Manomet, they may well take it to the Manomet Steering Committee as
Yeah.
well.
I remember one year, somebody had a bright thought. They said, let's get rid of the Manomet, let's get rid of the steering committees. And I said at the time, this is years ago, they're the first people, their ear is to the ground. They are at battle station. And they're the ones that go to the planning board or any other board or selectmen or anybody who needs them to know what the heck is going on.
Yep. Yeah.
And they're sorely needed.
It is. Well, Plymouth is so huge. It would be completely overwhelming for the
To
town
know
hall
everything.
to handle everything.
Right.
And that hierarchy, or I guess chain of command is not quite the right word, but for issues that sometimes our committee can handle an issue ourselves, or we can make a call to the engineering department, the DPW
Sure.
director, and say, hey, there's an issue over here that is a safety concern. Let's get can you take care of that right away? Or this is not a safety concern, but when you have time in your very busy schedule, because I know they're maxed out, but it's more of a conduit to funnel things down, I guess, for the town staff.
So will you be liaison to the Manomet Steering Committee?
I hope to.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I'd have to talk to Mr. Grandy about that,
Yeah.
or the rest of the board to become appointed, but I'd certainly like to stay.
That's wonderful. And you do something else that I respect very much. You are a scoutmaster to Troop 51. Are those the little guys who stand there at Geller's and sell the Christmas trees?
That's my guys, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Every year.
Yeah. Technically, I'm an assistant scoutmaster, but the head scoutmaster and I work together. He's a great guy, and we help each other out. And Boy Scouts had a tough go with the COVID. We were close to closing down the troop. Happily, we are up to 26 scouts right now. And it's, I get choked up a little bit about it.
It's wonderful.
I feel like we're building citizens of character.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my goodness, Tim, you're wonderful.
I know, I'm a
Oh,
softie.
that's wonderful. I get it. They're good kids.
Yeah, well, it's part of giving back. This town has given me so much. I just feel it's the right thing to do to give back.
I wish more people were like that, but we do have a huge volunteer army here in Plymouth.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot come out of the Pine Hills, but they're all over the. Oh my goodness! They're from
camera's on
North
you.
Plymouth down to the Wareham line. They volunteer all over the place, and it's just something that Plymouth has. That patriotic feel of I want to help. And I wish other people too, some can't, but that's all right, they guide.
And I see it on the committees. I know all of the committees that I'm on, they're all volunteers.
Right.
All the scout leaders are all volunteers.
Yeah,
And I think we're all pulling together to make Plymouth a better place.
right,
And that's really the goal here.
absolutely. And
It's a place we can be happy to live, grow, raise our kids, retire, all of those things.
what did you do during COVID for the boys?
Wasn't much. We actually did a lot of Zoom merit badge classes.
You kept that up.
We kept it going, yeah.
Good.
Troop 51 is pretty awesome in the fact that we have graduated nearly a dozen Eagle Scouts over the past two and a half years.
Any of them do those things in front of the church in Manomet?
We have a Scout right now working on an Eagle project at St. Bonaventures.
At St. Bonaventures, I
Yep.
know an Eagle Scout made a garden in front of the white church
Okay.
across from Geller's.
That's the second church. I go there.
The second church, yes. And it's a beautiful little thing right in front.
That must have been before my time because I don't remember it.
Was it that long ago? Oh, my goodness.
Well, I haven't been involved with the Scouts for very long in this capacity. You know, my boys went up through Cub Scouts and
Oh, yeah.
all that.
I was a Girl Scout.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but do you go camping and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that? You
Yep.
do?
Yep, we camped, oh gosh, we had a trek 3 weekends ago. We hiked from the entrance to Miles Standish State Forest to Camp Squanto
Oh, sure.
in the dark,
In the dark.
which was about almost 7 miles, and it was into the mid-30-degree range.
Oh, how'd they do?
I was shocked how well they did. I mean, we have a very young troop. Because all these kids graduated out as Eagles, and because we didn't get any Scouts during COVID,
Yeah.
our oldest Scout right now is 13.
Oh, God love 'em.
Other than a couple of kids that are helping out that are older. But so it's almost, we joke that we have no middle management because usually you have 14, 15, 16,
Sure.
17-year-olds that know the ropes, know what to do, know how to do these things. So some of these kids are really kind of figuring out as they go. But they actually hiked in, set up their tents in 35-degree weather, got up the next morning in the rain and did a service project for the camp. And by the end of the service project, I was stumbling around. I was so tired,
Oh, I'm sure.
the kids were really worn out, but they were all happy and smiling, and they've had an adventure to remember. So
Absolutely. It's good, clean fun.
it is. It's
Now, you have great experience in different places, and one of them was Nantucket. Please tell us what you did there.
okay. So one of the things that I'm very interested, sort of one of the sort of planks in my platform, my campaign, is that I would like to see Plymouth develop a land bank. Reason is, you can't control the land unless you own it.
Yeah, true.
You can control it to some degree with zoning, but really, our country was kind of built on the idea that if you can own private property and not have it taken away, that's sort of
Right.
in the Constitution. I mean, the Pilgrims came here because the king and the feudal lords
Yeah.
and everything owned all the land, and they were so our economic system really is somewhat based on private property ownership. So that means you have the right to do what you want with your property, assuming it doesn't impact the rights of others, and that's huge. I mean, it really has a strong bearing on what can be done with land. So Nantucket came up with this idea to create a land bank. If you own the land, you can control it. If you can
Right.
control it, you can control how it's used and so on. So they do it with a real estate transfer tax. And we have a land bank committee that's working on something like that. It's not exactly like Nantucket's, but I just finished a project for the Nantucket Land Bank that was putting a conservation restriction on over 500 acres of land.
Wow.
Which is not a small thing on Nantucket.
No.
I can't imagine what that's worth on Nantucket real estate prices. But they have lots of beautiful areas that they've actually been able to protect.
Yeah.
And because they can control it, because they own it. And they own it because they had the money from the land bank.
Right. Well, it's a very rich community too, so I mean.
It is, yes.
But I haven't been to Nantucket in years. I've gone to Martha's Vineyard about every year. We'll take the trek. But Nantucket is just pristine.
It's, yeah, there are parts of it. It's a very interesting island too, because it's very dense in the center, and then they've struggled with the sprawl that we struggle with.
Oh, they do.
Oh yeah, there's development that's spread out that when the development is spread out, the infrastructure has to reach them, water, sewer,
Oh, please,
roads.
yes.
And that's expensive.
That's what happened here.
Yep.
You need more service, or you have sprawl.
Right. Yeah, so the idea or the planning goal is to consolidate the growth and have the commercial growth in our, sort of like little spheres of, in the village centers where we have commercial activity and they're vibrant and have businesses, and then an outer sphere that is maybe mixed use, and then an outer sphere that is residential, and then another outer sphere that is the rural, the beautiful,
Yeah. Dune.
pristine
Yeah.
areas. And I think that's the goal of planning, is to figure out where those areas need to be and figure out what the community wants there and how that's going to work.
How many thousands of years ago was Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket, if you know, attached to Massachusetts and Rhode Island and...
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that one.
But I often think at one time it had to be.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I really don't know. I know for one of the other credentials I have is I'm a soil evaluator. I've actually let the license lapse.
Oh, that's good to know.
But so I can do perk tests, and a lot of that was learning about how the glacier acted and create the soils around here and everything. I also have a license as a licensed soil septic inspector.
Oh yeah.
Which it's active but
Rare.
inactive.
Yeah.
I haven't. It's not my favorite thing to do.
No,
So,
I don't think so.
but it's essential, for some parts of
Yeah.
what my clients maybe need. But so that what that does is that gives me kind of a broader picture of all of the different facets, all of the different. It's kind of an intricate puzzle for development, and I think my 40 years of experience with it gives me the ability to read plans, which kind of when I got into this, I thought, oh, well, that's going to be my forte, my strength that I can bring and help with, is reading the plans and understanding where things belong and where they don't belong, and what a plan is actually showing about the land that it's depicting, and where things maybe shouldn't be. But as I've learned more about this job, it's a much bigger picture. I have the skills, I have the knowledge to read plans, to know when a plan is not right or maybe could be improved. And I've seen development, both good and bad, and the way things go.
Oh yeah.
Over the past, it's been 30 years since I've really been professionally qualified to do that sort of thing. But as a land use professional, I think I really have something I can bring to the table to help the town.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Absolutely.
But as far as when the islands were attached to the mainland,
I
don't know.
I don't know that either.
I'm going to look it up, though.
I keep thinking, were they attached at one time?
Yeah.
Thousands of years ago.
Well, what got me thinking about that is when I studied the soils and everything, at one point the glacier here was 2 miles high above us.
Really?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
Well, we have so many ponds and lakes here
Yes, yep.
in Plymouth.
Thank you to the glacier. Yeah.
Yeah, the glacier just...
Yeah. Well, it dropped big chunks of ice, and then they got covered over by the debris, the outwash from the glacier and everything,
sure.
and then over millions of years or eons or whatever it was, as those chunks of ice below the ground melted, they created those kettle ponds. That's how they were formed.
You could teach.
I've been told that before.
Yeah.
Both my parents were really teachers.
You could teach. You could go and teach.
I enjoy it.
That's a great subject.
Mentoring, the guys that work with me and girls,
Yeah.
and mentoring the scouts. I do enjoy that a bunch.
I can tell. And you mentioned the second church.
Mm-hmm.
You're a member there?
I'm a member there, yeah.
I've only been in there once. It's quite beautiful, very pilgrimy.
Yeah, very serene.
Serene.
Yeah. And,
Lovely.
And I went to Sunday school there when I was a little kid.
Oh.
So.
Who is the minister there?
Bruce Hoppalainen.
Hoppalainen.
Yeah, super guy, really, really nice. And,
Yeah.
he's fairly new. It may be less than a year. They went through a long search process.
Good.
It's a vibrant community there. They're wonderful people.
Is it Protestant?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
It's, it changed around a little bit, so I'm not going to dip my toe into exactly what the denomination is, because we had to make a bit of a change for the charter and things. But
Yeah.
I'm going to admit, I'm not an active participant. I don't do a lot there, but I do like to go and I enjoy listening to an intelligent sermon.
Yes.
You know, and I want my kids to be exposed to it.
That's excellent. You're very well-rounded. And you told me your wife is a realtor?
Yes, she is. She works with Jack Conway. She has for 25 years, I think, thereabouts.
Excellent.
22 years. Yeah, she worked in the Wareham office for a long time, and now she's out of the Plymouth office. And,
Excellent. I bet I know people that work with her.
mm-hmm.
You know, is she in the bank downtown? Is that Jack Conway?
No, their office is, well, right across from what's now Katie's. Used to be Papagino's.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where they are.
Yep.
Because
cute little white building,
I
white
think it's
picket fence.
Coldwell Banker that's in the other one.
Uh-huh.
But we have a lot of realtors in Plymouth, a lot of lawyers.
Yep. Yep. And she's always helpful to me to give me a perspective of, you know, what real estate market and
It's just terrible.
what a lot of she's really educated me a lot on the ethics of the real estate world and how
Yeah.
things need to be. You know, just because the real estate has gone so crazy in the past couple of years.
It's
just
unbelievable.
It's like the Wild West, it seems.
They had a house for sale, I think I saw it on Facebook, Mashpee. 1 bath, 2 bedroom, very small. They wanted $900 and something thousand.
Wow. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. It is.
And the rents are out of control.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That brings up an interesting point about housing, because that's one of the big, huge, gigantic issues in Plymouth right now. Is, you know, we're getting all these 40B developments, and
You know how you can stop a 40B?
how's that?
With a 40R.
Okay.
You'll get to understand that, but a
Mm-hmm.
40R, the state protects, and 40Bs cannot be built when a 40R comes in.
Okay. As far as from the little I know of it, I believe that's like a more of a mixed-use development.
Yes, that's where your
40R?
commercial comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a few homes, but it's commercial, like life sciences,
Mm-hmm.
hotel.
Well, that sounds terrific, and I definitely want to learn more about it.
You learn about your 40Rs, and they're protected. If you sue them, you'll lose. You'll have to pay the person with the 40R.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So, but,
Well, it's what I've seen is that we are getting 40Bs shoved down our throats because we refuse to work with the developers. You know, I mean, and I see, you know, I look at Facebook and see, well, we just have to stop them. But that's not legal. We
It's
can't
not
just say
legal.
you can't. You have to. I mean, you can provide guidelines. You can provide realistic regulations. But if we put in a regulation that is basically infringing upon someone's rights, the state is going to knock it down and say you can't enact that regulation.
I'm going to tell you a story,
Okay.
and you keep it in the back of your mind. There was a fellow, very well respected, that owned property here in Plymouth. And he wanted to put a gas station on Long Pond Road, across from what is now a gas station and what's it called? You get great subs in there now.
All fresh? Is
All
that the one
fresh.
you're thinking of? Yep.
And he wanted to put a gas station. You know where the Oasis is?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to put and he was willing. He was a multi-millionaire, very cooperative, lovely man. He wanted to do this, and he was going to fix the road. He was going to put in lights and fix the road and fix a lot of Long Pond Road. He was working with the state. He tried everything, and at that time, my husband sat on the planning board, and Tim was on there,
Okay. Mr. Grandy. Yep.
and a great guy named Paul McCaldiff. And they tried, but the people who wanted to go back to 1620 didn't want it. He got so frustrated after 3 years, he sold it to a 40B. and now you have the Oasis. Can you imagine living in that place with a family?
No.
It's just parking lot and the building. It's just an awful thing. And with forethought, a little forethought, these things wouldn't happen.
I agree. I think it's a big case of, you know, the knee-jerk, nay. We, you know, from the one perspective view that either appeals, sues, and prevents a developer from building something that is reasonable, which, you know, we saw with the Clarendon over by Sawyer's Reach.
Yes.
They walk away, say, you know what?
We'll
We'll just go 40B.
After getting frustrated.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I have clients who have facilities in Middleborough and Pembroke and have said to me, we're not going to try to build in Plymouth. It's just too difficult. It's too complicated. It's too, the regulations, or the not necessarily the regulations, but the pathway is so Byzantine that they just don't want to deal with it. And they're a big commercial business.
Well, Plymouth has a reputation. It can be very business unfriendly.
Correct. That's what I heard from
And
more than one client.
it's just, it's a terrible thing. And who's suffering is the residential taxpayer.
Absolutely right.
And the business people that are in business now in Plymouth because their taxes are exorbitant. All you have to do is ask Dick Quintal, the selectman, chair of the selectmen. Exorbitant. Something's got to give. And I'm not trying to convince you. You will be on that board, and you will, I know you will deliberate fairly.
Well,
I
yeah,
know
it's.
that.
I mean, it's something's got to give, and we do. Plymouth is going to grow, whether we like it or not.
I know.
Right. So we want to grow intelligently with smart growth, with planning, and if we just fight these things, basically, I think I said it. We may win the battle but lose the war.
Right. Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
We're already there.
Yep. Yep.
So, I mean, you get on that board, I think we have a very great shot.
Well, thank you. I'm encouraged. I think that, you know, I've really kind of sort of been woken up to the political scene in Plymouth fairly recently compared to many people who have been there for a long time. But I was very, very much encouraged to see the town meeting approve some forward-thinking articles.
Oh, sure.
Number one in my book was the nuclear stabilization
Yes.
fund. They put $500,000 into that towards hopefully the future
They had
purchase
to.
of the whole tech land.
They had to. It, you know, it.
Well, I don't think they didn't have to. I think they chose to.
Oh, they
I
chose to.
I think in my mind, yes, I agree.
They had to.
It has
but
to be done.
they chose to.
But
That's
I mean,
right.
just
You're
thinking
right.
about the possible alternatives is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
But that and the ADUs, allowing for ADUs for
I was a town meeting member when it was turned down the first time. And I couldn't believe, you know, town meeting passed it this time. Kudos to them. I am so proud of them for doing that. And then another town meeting member got up and wanted to re-vote it. This is the mindset of those who want to go back to 1619, not even 1620.
I think it was somewhat upsetting to me to see the proposed amendment to restrict it because of septic systems. And the groundwater, which, you know, groundwater is critical. I mean, you know, second only to air for survival, right?
We can do things about it.
Right, but that regulation, and I'm not going to pretend to be a scientist, but the addition of one bedroom to an already existing residence, okay, possibly a 25% increase in the septic flow. However, most, you know, those units, and I think I heard a number of about 20 units per year expected possibly. So those extra 20 bedrooms, many of those would probably have to have a brand new septic system to put in to handle that capacity. So get rid of an old cesspool, which is not treating the wastewater, and put in a modern meaning having been designed since the 1995 code came in, system that actually treats the effluent You know, the
Yeah.
septic tank treats it and the leaching field disperses the water afterwards.
Mine is 50 years old,
Wow.
but we've taken care of it every year. Very careful with it. I'd love to move it out front, but you're talking, I figure $12,000-15,000.
Mine was 24.
Oh my goodness.
Granted, it was a tough, it was in the backyard. I have only a 50-foot wide lot. It was a very challenging job.
Yeah.
But it was the entire backyard. And
Wow.
yeah, that delayed our kitchen remodel for a while. But,
Oh yeah.
but yes, it's
Oy.
everything's gone up. Everything has gone up. We all know that.
I think there is a program in town, though,
There is, yeah.
that gives money to people who have to move there. Well, they give them a great rate.
Right, correct. It's not a gift.
It's
a
not a
loan,
gift.
but it's a low-interest loan.
What is it, 1-2%?
I think it was 3 last time I looked into it, but
Really?
don't quote me on that. But because I looked at it for myself and I realized I'd be better off taking the money from elsewhere.
Yeah.
It was actually a little higher than, another way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's a great program because when that happens, most people don't plan for it.
No.
And it's urgent.
Taken
when
for
it fails,
granted.
it's urgent.
Yeah.
Not all of them are because of a fail. Usually with a real estate transfer, then the state law says that the system has to be inspected.
Right.
And in Plymouth, as in almost every other town around here now, a cesspool is an automatic fail. They're just not.
What's the difference between a cesspool and a septic system?
I'm glad you asked. It's actually
I have
fairly
a
interesting.
septic system.
Okay, so a septic system has a tank,
Yeah.
a septic tank,
Right.
and it has the pipe going in and the pipe going out,
Right.
and in between, the septage gets processed by bacteria and the
Yeah.
natural process. And what happens is the pipe going out has a T on it. So when that stuff gets processed, the sludge sinks to the bottom and the scum floats to the top. And what is in between is the effluent. So it's basically just liquid. Okay. If that scum or that sludge gets into your leaching field, it clogs it up very quickly. That's why
Yeah.
they have the T on there, so that just the clear. That's not water, really.
Yeah,
It is
but I
water,
know
but
what you mean.
the effluent goes into the leaching system and percolates into the ground.
Okay.
And it gets treated. It develops a biomat that treats it, and the things that we're looking at now, the nitrogen and
Yes.
it doesn't necessarily treat all of that. There are systems. There's newer ones that are very fancy and complicated that can treat that nitrogen, but they'll add $15,000 onto the cost of a system, so they're expensive. I mean, for what they do, and compared to the previous technology of the cesspool, which was basically a pipe dumping into a pit, and that's it.
Oy.
So there's no treatment. And we're fortunate around here to have very sandy soil. So cesspools have worked and not backed up and failed because the soil's so sandy.
We have great sand here. That's why they all want it.
Right.
But there was a problem in Kingston. I forget the section, but it's right
Yes,
along.
maybe like Rocky Nook? Or?
Rocky Nook. I used to summer there with my girlfriend's family.
Oh, it's a nice area.
Years and years ago.
Yep.
But they started having trouble with their septics. And that's a dilemma because they're right there at the water.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but,
So I've actually worked on the Kingston sewage treatment plant, and they're working on a place to put that effluent, because the treatment plant is basically like a giant septic system. That's a
Right.
very oversimplified version of it, but it has
Yeah.
different treatments, and such as our wastewater treatment plant is just putting in a tertiary treatment system, which is going to take out a lot more of those bad chemicals. But yeah, Kingston's working on fixing that problem too, and we're going to have to work on that too.
it's a problem everywhere because more people, more.
I'm working on 2 big projects on the Cape right now, part of Falmouth and part of Mashpee, they're adding sewer to neighborhoods the size of probably Priscilla Beach and Whitehorse Beach combined.
My daughter's in
put-
Falmouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're in the T-ticket area there.
Yeah, she
Yep.
taught school there.
Yeah, it's a big project because the DEP has said on the Cape that they're nitrogen sensitive areas and the town has to do something, or every owner is going to have to put in a nitrogen treatment
Little
add
plant.
on to
Yeah.
their system to the tune of probably $20,000. And the number of systems, there's just not enough contractors to do the work. So the town is being proactive by adding capacity to the sewage treatment plant and adding the pipelines, which is it's hugely expensive though.
Pine Hills put in their own,
Yes.
but we come and empty it. So, you know, it's a concerted effort there. It's, you know, cooperative.
Yeah.
But they were smart to do that,
I don't think they had much choice, honestly.
really.
Yeah, well, I really shouldn't comment on it because I don't know the facts, and I really don't want to. But I mean, I lived for a while, in my 20s. I lived on Mark Drive in Summer Hill.
Oh,
They have a treatment plant there.
oh,
It was very expensive to maintain. It made our condo fees pretty expensive.
wow.
Yeah, it's
What
an ex-
about, oh, down in Cedarville, that beautiful.
White Cliffs, you're
White
thinking?
Cliffs.
I don't know.
I don't know
if they
either.
have,
That's beautiful. You
Yeah,
ever go up
yeah.
there
Oh,
in
yeah.
the summer?
I got married there. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was
My
gorgeous.
mother and father got engaged there.
Oh, wonderful.
We're talking eons ago. Yeah, so, I mean, you could teach. You're very good.
Maybe when I retire.
Yeah, oh, you'll probably want to just enjoy yourself, let me tell you. My husband always said he worked more after he retired than when he worked. He was more busy when he retired.
Yep,
That's
yep.
what
But busy with the things that you want to do.
Yeah,
which
what
is-
you want to do.
Which is nice. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Retirement's a long way in the future.
yeah,
I got two boys. One wants to go to MIT. So
oh, that's great.
yeah.
Be an
We'll see.
engineer.
Yeah, he wants to be an engineer.
Good for him. That's a mind. That's a
Well, I say he wants to. I don't say he's going to.
Going
but,
to, yeah.
you know, if he puts in the work.
Can you
do it.
tell that he thinks differently? Because
yeah.
engineer types, they think different.
Yeah, yeah. They're both of them are smarter than me. I guess
Well,
is the best way to put it.
every
They're
parent
brilliant.
says that,
yeah, they
yeah.
do. I think I'm biased.
That's adorable.
But you know what? As long as they're happy.
As long as they're happy, I know. But in this day and age, it's so hard. You know,
It is, yeah.
Sometimes I say a trade school is even better
Mm-hmm.
because of what's happening, you know, on the college, university level.
Mm-hmm.
The price is astronomical.
It is, and to carry that much debt as a young adult, you know, is daunting.
Right.
You know,
But they go into it knowing that debt's going to be there, and it's one of those things. But
yeah.
I
Fortunately,
think-
that's not something I have to make decisions on the planning board, though. So
oh yeah,
I
think
think
that-
I can stay in my lane.
yeah, you stay in your way.
And I'll do what I know.
I don't think the selectmen have to make that decision either.
Right.
But
right.
I think you're good for Plymouth, and
Well, I hope so. I'm going to do my best. You know.
we have
And I think I have some. I can bring some things to the table, some skills and some experience, and also I think temperament too, to look at the balance. Nothing is black or white. You know, there's gray areas. There might be two sides. There might be four sides to a certain story or project or something, and
Right.
and you really have to look at it holistically as a whole,
right.
and not from a narrow special interest.
Are you a reader?
I'm a voracious reader, actually.
Okay, so you'll be getting all that material. It's ever wonder how the finance advisory does it?
I can't imagine. Yeah.
Can't imagine how the selectmen do it. It's reading. And they, they really don't do much because they have to read at least 3 days straight,
Oof.
and it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think with, I've read a lot of reports for what's called stormwater reports and wetland reports and sewage report, and so I think I have a pretty good handle
Grasp.
on cutting to the chase and finding.
Right.
Here's the fluff. Here's the fluff. There's the bottom line.
There's the
That's what we
bottom
need to
line.
know about this issue.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and I think I've been blessed. My parents, I think, inoculated me into being a reader. So.
Yeah. Well, you seem very well-rounded, and you'll be great. You'll be a great asset, a great help. Never be afraid to ask a question or pick up a phone. If, if it's related to the town, I'm sure the town manager would be very happy to talk to you and explain things. And Tim is great at that, and Steve Bulletin and Carl. I got to get Carl here. I haven't had Carl here yet.
Yeah, I haven't met him yet.
I understand he's a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Good.
And I'll have him here.
I'll look forward to working with him.
So tell the people, few minutes that we have, what you want to do.
I want to help Plymouth become the place that we can all be proud of. And if we are going to fight development, we're going to lose. It's really a fact of life. The state is really kind of controlling a lot of this stuff, but Plymouth is going to grow whether we like it or not. We want to grow smartly, smart growth, and I think the master plan is a big piece of that. The new master plan that's going to be a plan rather than just kind of a wish, and nothing against the original 2004 version, but I think we have, we've grown and we've learned that we had a master plan, but nothing really happened with it. And a land bank, I think, is going to be would be a tremendous asset, and it's going to be controversial, I think, a little bit, but in my mind, I think it's a no-brainer. And really to have commercial development that can help take the tax burden off of the residents. I think that development that can bring good jobs to keep them here in Plymouth, to have people who, to make a good living, don't have to commute to Boston. That's kind of those are kind of my major positions, the things that have really kind of been clicking around in my head, and
you're a listener, and you'll do a fair job being fair, meaning you're going to take all things into account, and I'm voting for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Early voting, May 11th. Begins.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for saying that.
Yep.
Early vote. That's Monday. No. Tomorrow.
No, May 11th.
Oh, May
We're in April,
11th.
yeah.
Where am I? This is April. Okay.
All right,
yes.
It wasn't that long a conversation.
I know. Okay, yes, this is still April.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But I want to thank you, Tim, from the bottom of my heart. I know this was different for you.
This
You're
is a new
not
experience
used
for
to
me.
come
Yeah.
on, and you did a great job.
Well, thank you, because you made it very easy.
And everybody, vote for Tim Bennett,
Thank you.
May 18th, Saturday, May 18th.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, honey.
Thank you.